Today will be a combination of lessons 1 through 5. And we're putting them together so we can work on lesson 6. So today we're going to be able to calculate net pay per pay period. That's what a statement of earnings is. So whenever you look at your paycheck and the money that goes into your account, that is your net pay, which is your gross pay minus all of the deductions we've talked about so far in this chapter. So this first question is asking, why should you save for retirement? What does that have to do with net pay? So Ember Rigsby just started her first job as a golf instructor. She has $45 deducted each pay period for her retirement account. Ember is saving money now so she can enjoy her retirement later. So first of all, I would not expect all of you to be thinking about retirement. You haven't even started careers yet. So theoretically then, why would it be a good idea to save for retirement? Calvin? Social Security is not always enough. Okay, that's fair. Agreed. To live off of. What's that? Okay. What is retirement? What's that? No longer working. Okay. So in order to be able to no longer work, what do you need? Yeah, you need money to live off of if you're not going to work, right? Otherwise, you can't pay for whatever you need to pay for. So in order to be able to retire in the first place, you have to have money saved over time. A lot of times, people have to work much later than they were planning on working because they didn't have enough for retirement. Yeah. So, with it? Oh, pencil. Yeah, it's got something here. Sometimes you'll see people working that are older than you would expect to be working. Sometimes people just want something to do. You know, they get bored sitting around and they might be retired, but they like to do something on the side and maybe may as well get paid for it. So I'm going to keep working a little bit here and there. Some people, when they're a little bit older, have to keep working in order to keep paying their bills and things like that because they didn't have enough saved up for retirement. That's not always the fault of the individual necessarily, but it just kind of is a reality. And so it's important to save for retirement because if you want to retire in the first place, you need to have money saved. Which basically means you can't spend all of your money every single month or whenever you get your paychecks. You got to save some of it. Hopefully you can, in order to be able to retire someday. So that would be the reason for that. So one of the benefits of working at certain places is you can direct some of your money before it gets taxed into retirement accounts, which actually keeps more of that money in the retirement account at the front end. It gets taxed later on, but if you tax it later, that means more of it gets to go in the retirement and grow now. So that would be the reason for that. So we will be talking about other deductions from your paycheck, most of which are optional deductions from your paycheck. The ones that we've talked about so far are generally speaking pretty mandatory, except for the health insurance ones. Sometimes you can decline health insurance, things like that. But for the most part, the deductions we've talked about so far in this chapter have been mandatory, whereas any additional deductions that we're talking about today are optional. So net pay, here we go. You may have additional deductions taken from your gross pay for union dues. So if you're part of a union, it costs money to be part of a union. You can choose to, if your company or your business offers you to be part of a union, you can join it or not. You have the option for that. There are contributions to community funds that you can have taken out pre-tax, savings plans, retirement accounts, charity, things like that. The earnings statement attached to your paycheck lists all of your deductions, which starts with your gross pay and then your net pay for the pay period. Net pay, our definition of the day. Net pay is the amount of money you have left after your employer subtracts all the tax withholdings and personal deductions from your gross pay. Whatever's left over, that's what you get to keep. That's what goes in your bank account. That is your net pay. Other terms for it, net income or take-home pay. So net pay, net income, take-home pay, those are all ways of saying the same thing. The calculation for it is just straight up subtraction. However, we know based on earlier in this unit that the total deductions, that number there, has a lot of other calculations rolled into it, like federal income tax, state income tax. Maybe there's a graduated state income tax, maybe, well, not maybe, Social Security, Medicare, health insurance. So all of those things are part of your deduction. So all those other calculations we've done turn into this number here. You subtract it from your gross pay and you get your net pay. So let's start taking a look at a couple of examples. Angela Moore's gross weekly salary is $600. She's married and she claims 3 allowances. The Social Security tax is 6.2% of the first $97,500. The Medicare tax is 1.45% of gross pay. The state tax is 1.5% of gross pay. That's interesting. Not of taxable wages. Each week, she has $28.40 deducted for medical insurance and $5 for charity. Is Angela's earnings statement correct? So what we need to do is figure out if all of these numbers are correct and if her net pay right here is also correct. So all the things that were mentioned up here are listed somewhere on this pay statement, pay stub, whatever you want to call that. So we're just going to do some number crunching real quick, figure out if the numbers here are correct, figure out if her net pay is correct, and verify yes or no, do these match. So first thing we need to do is use our A2 to A5 table that we got back in lesson 2.1. This one right here. Just so we can match up to make sure that this federal income tax number of $26 deducted is accurate. So federal income tax says, so she's married, so we're going to go to the married. We're going to go down to 600 because that's her gross pay, and she claims 3 allowances. So we're on the married. We're going down to 600. And she's claiming 3 allowances. So 0, 1, 2, 3. $26 taken out every week in federal income tax. $26 there. We're good. So $26 is accurate. That checks out. That shouldn't say from table above. That should say from table A2 to A5. And that's that paper that I gave you earlier. All right. So federal withholding is correct. It's 26. So go and write that down. 26. That is accurate. We're calculating it separately from what's written because we want to verify that it is all accurate. Let's see. Social Security, 6.2% of $600. So 600, 6,600 times 0.062, $37.20. Social Security, $37.20. Looks good. So B, 37.2. Medicare, 600 times 0.0145.
May I have your attention, please? It's time to release our baseball players. All baseball players, please go to the office and sign out.
600 times 0.0145, $8.70. Medicare, $8.70. We're good there. So C, 8.7. D, state income tax. It says is 1.5% of gross income, which means not after deduction, so or exemption. So we're not going to deduct any exemptions from this. So we're just doing 600 multiplied by 1.5%, 0.015. That's $9. And if you look right here, state tax, $9. That checks out. So D, 9. Medical insurance, it just straight up tells us $28.40. That matches here. So that's good. E, $28.40, 28.4. And then charity, $5 to charity, $5 to charity. That matches as well. So F is correct as well, $5. Now, we are still needing to double check everything. So all the individual numbers work. That's all good. So we need the total of all the deductions. So let's add all 6 of those things together. So we got 26, 37.2, 8.7, 9, 28.4, and 5. What are the total deductions from her gross pay? Who's got it? $114.30. All right. So total deductions, $114.30. So step 2 over here, gross pay minus total deductions is equal to the net pay. So we're going to say net equals 600 minus 114.3. What's 114? What's 114.3 taken away from 600? What do you get? 485.70. Does it match with the net pay? Yes, it does. So, is Angela's earnings statement correct? Yes, it's correct. There you go. Now, if you have today's updated numbers for federal income tax, state income tax, Social Security, Medicare, all that kind of stuff, if you have all those updated values, you can check this on your own paycheck. These are from 2010. So if you got the new updated values, if you look them up, find them, and you can figure out if the numbers on your paycheck are correct or not. So you can double check that on your own, which is never a bad idea, because when it comes down to it, yes, the computer calculates the numbers, but people enter the numbers. And so there's always room for error with that kind of stuff. All right. Any questions on this before we start doing a couple on our own? All right, flip the page. Talk about Ron. Ron King is a single airline ticket agent who claims one allowance. His gross weekly salary is $320. Each week, he has deducted federal, Social Security, Medicare taxes, $26.20 for medical insurance, 1.5% state tax, and on state taxes on gross pay here. So we're not calculating that according to any exemption. And then $25 for the credit union. So I want you to do this one on your own, as well as the one at the bottom of this page on your own. I didn't print quite right, did it? It's kind of like crooked. That's weird. I wonder how that happened. Oh, well. We can still see everything. So go ahead and work through that one there. Figure out the total amount of deductions, take them away from the gross pay, figure out what his net pay is. Do that for number 2 as well. You will need to use this table in order to calculate the federal income tax. So if anybody needs another copy of this table, come on up. I got a few left. And by few, I mean 2. I have 2 left that I can give away. This is also on Google Classroom though, so if you need to reference it, it's there too. But yeah. Take a few minutes on problems 1 and 2. Okay, you get it back by the end of the class? Yeah. All right, thank you. Once you get to problem number 2, I just realized down here that on this table, it's got the amount of pay from the previous problem. So 320 is not the number to multiply by for those. Those 3 should each be multiplied by 450. So just keep that in mind for number 2. Oh, also, just saw this as well. I don't know why these aren't why these are not correct, but she doesn't pay state taxes on number 2. So says right here, she pays no state taxes. So some states don't do state income tax. So that's a nice 0 for line D on problem number 2. Start taking a look through some of these here. So for the first one up here, how much is deducted in federal tax? For Ron. Line A. I see tables. So what's the federal income tax deduction for Ron? $320 single, one allowance. $24. Nice. All right. Social Security. What's the deduction for Social Security here for Ron? I know a lot of people have it. Just what do we have? Gives you the calculation right here as well. Make sure you use a decimal, right? 0.062 times 320. What is it? You have it, Miguel? .062 times 320. And then Esteban, while he's doing that, I want you to do 0.0145 times 320. And then Alexis, while they're doing that, I want you to do 0.015 times 320 if you haven't done it already. $19.84. Good. So Social Security, $19.84. Medicare, Esteban. $4.64. Good. Alexis, state tax. $4.80. Good. Elijah, what was the medical insurance for Ron? $26.20. Yeah. Brandon, how much for the credit union? 25. Cool. Add them all up. Who's got the total for the deductions here? Row G. How much is getting taken out of Ron's paycheck every week? $4.48. Yep. So total deductions for Ron every week, $104.48. So his net pay will be $320 minus the $104.48. So how much does he get to put in his bank account every week? $215.52. Nice. So that's our net pay. Cool. That's problem one. Any questions on that before we move on to number two? Some more folks, some questions on number two. Right? Anybody need more time here on that table? We good? All right, number two then. Let's see. Eve, did you find the federal tax for number two? $17. Yep, nice. I crossed off a bunch of stuff here. So 6.2% of $450. Urani, do you have that for B on number two? Okay, go ahead and punch that in real quick, see what you get. And then, Kate, do you have the Medicare already for number two? Okay, go ahead and work that out real quick. And then Paula, do you have, well, never mind. State income tax, we don't need to worry about on this one. So B and C are the only two calculations that you actually have to do on this one, in terms of figuring out taxes. Because the rest of them are using the table or they're given to us. Did you get it? $27.90. Good. So Social Security, $27.90. Let's see. It's working on Medicare. I got 653. So 450. So 450 times 0.01. Yeah, instead of 320, it's 450. Yeah. So 450 times 0.0145, $6.53. What's the state income tax for this one? There isn't any. Yeah, it's zero. Right here. She pays no state taxes. So $0. How much is deducted for her medical insurance? Yeah, $21.20. All right. How much is deducted for her credit union? $5. So what are Brianna's total deductions? $77.63. So she makes $130 more a week than Ron did, and she has less taken out of her paycheck. And it's mostly due to the fact that she doesn't pay state tax. So what is her net pay? Do we have that? $372.37. So gross pay, $450 minus deductions, net pay, $372.37. So that is the majority of the work that's going to be done for this assignment later on. So you're just working through the list, getting all the things you need, adding them together, taking it away from the gross pay to get your net pay. So write anything else down that you need to from this problem, then we'll take a look at, I think we just have one or two more on the next page. Okay. Anybody need more time here? Good to go. All right, flip it over. So these last two have to do with working on some algebra. So it says the deductions from Esther Stein's monthly pay are federal income tax, FIT, of $98, state income tax, SIT, of 3.5% of gross pay. So again, we're not dealing with taxable wages here, which makes it a little easier. There's a city income tax, which happens sometimes, of 1.5% of gross pay. So that's another tax we need to work through. Social Security, 6.2%. Medicare, 1.45%. Monthly net pay is $4,147.21. Find her monthly gross pay. So we don't know what the gross pay is. So that's going to be our variable. M for monthly gross pay. Could be X, but they're using M. That's fine. Use the net pay formula to solve for M. So the net pay formula for this particular situation is the gross pay minus all of these deductions. Deductions might be different depending on the person. So like for the last problem, Brianna, SIT was not part of it. There was no state income tax for Brianna. Same with city income tax. There was no city income tax for Brianna. She would have included a credit union though, because she had a credit union deduction of $5. So we would include plus credit union inside this one if it were for Brianna. So depending on the person, the amount and the number of deductions might be different, but it's still gross pay minus these are the total deductions. They just happen to be slightly different deductions than somebody else. So let's go ahead and plug in the things we know. Do we know the net pay? Yeah. All right. So that's 41, 47, 21. 41, 47, 21. That's the net pay. We do not know the gross pay. Gross pay equals M. That's what we're solving for. Minus. In parentheses. The reason why we need parentheses here real quick is because once we have the total of everything, then we would subtract it. So that's why it needs to be in a group of everything added together, then it can be subtracted. So federal income tax, do we know how much? 98. All right. State income tax, do we know how much? We don't know the actual number, but we know the percent, don't we? What's the percent for state income tax? State income tax is 3.5% of what? Listen up, guys. This is going to take a little bit more work. 3.5% of what? Gross. Which one is gross? Gross is M. Okay. So plus 0.035 M. That is 3.5% of the monthly gross pay. We don't know the monthly gross pay, so we have to continue on with our variable here, but we know it's 3.5% of that. All right. Plus, what's the city income tax rate? 1.5%. So plus 0.015 M. Social Security is what percent? $6.2. Yeah, Social Security 6.2. So plus 0.062 M. Medicare, how much is that one? 1.45%. So plus 0.0145 M. So this is what we're looking at. Okay. Before we start working through this, are there any questions as to how we got that? We don't know the gross pay, but we know the percentages of the gross pay. So we have to continue to use M even in here. We know it's $98 for federal income tax, but all the other stuff was percentages of the gross pay, which is M. So now we got some combining of like terms to do. So everything inside these parentheses with M are like terms. Keep it separate from the 98, but we can add 0.035, 0.015, 0.062, and 0.0145. All of those numbers can be added together to create a single decimal with M. So let's do that. So 0.035, do this on your calculators as well. I want to make sure we can verify that we're doing the right thing here. 0.015, 0.062, 0.0145. So what is our decimal that we're going to be able to use with M in our parentheses? What number goes inside the parentheses with M once we combine all of those? So add 0.035, 0.015, 0.062, and 0.0145. Add those 4 decimals together. Tell me what we get. It is 0.1265, yeah. So 0.1265 M goes in the parentheses. So basically what that means is, in terms of percent, the total percentage of all those taxes is 12.65% of her gross pay. All right, now, what's our next step? We've made the equation a lot smaller, so that's helpful. What do we do next, though? What's that? Yeah, distribute. We got a negative outside the parentheses. We need to distribute the negative. So take the negative, distribute to the 98, distribute to the 0.1265 M. So that's going to give us M minus 98 minus 0.1265 M. And then 41, 47, 21 over here. All right. Now we have more like terms. We have M minus 0.1265 M. What number goes with M here? 1. So take 1 and subtract 0.1265. What's 1 minus 0.1265? .8735. So 0.8735 M minus 98. Okay, 2 more steps. What's our next step? Add 98. Okay, so 41, 47, 21 plus 98. Add 98 to both sides, which will give us over here 42, 45, 21 equals 0.8735 M. Last step. Divide by 0.8735. Okay. So 42, 45, 21 divided by 0.8735 gives us a monthly gross income, or yeah, monthly gross income of what? What is the monthly gross income? Was it? 4,860. Good. So gross pay per month, $4,860. All right. which means she keeps like 85% of her overall income. That's not normal. That's a lot, by the way, to keep that much of your income. Generally speaking, so in this state anyway, I'm used to taking home like between 68 and 70% of my gross income. That's about how much I ended up with. So it's about 15% more in taxes taken out here in Oregon versus wherever Esther lives. Okay. Any questions here before we look at the last one? All right. By the way, tomorrow's a work day. It's our review day as well. So if you need to work on the assignment for this tomorrow in class while you're doing a review, that's totally fine. Here we go. Last one. Find a weekly gross pay. Okay. So the weekly net pay is $972.11. So let's see. Net equals gross minus all of the deductions. So 185 for federal income tax. So federal income tax, state income tax. Let's just list all of them first. City income tax, Social Security, and let's see, Medicare, health insurance, and charity. So those are all the deductions for John. Federal income tax, state income tax, city income tax, Social Security, Medicare, health insurance, and charity. So there are more things being deducted from John's weekly paycheck than there were from Esther's. So here we go. Net is $972.11. I'm just going to call gross X this time, minus the federal income tax, which is $185. I'm going to make this quicker. State income tax is 5% of gross, so plus 0.05x. City income tax, 2% of gross, plus 0.02x. Social Security, plus 0.062x. Might run out of room, I have to write really small. Medicare, 0.0145x. Health insurance, 64. Charity, 25. There we go. That's where we're at with this one. So we actually have two types of numbers we can combine here. We've got our regular numbers, 185. So 185, 64, and 25. That's 274. So 274, we got X here. We got 972.11 over here. So the 185 plus the 64 plus the 25 is 274. Then we're going to add together everything with X. So 0.05, 0.02, 0.062, 0.0145, which equals 0.1465x. So combining our like terms, we end up there. Same as last problem, just different values inside here. Paying attention to the percentages and the regular number values. If they're percentages, write them as decimals. If they're dollar values, just write them as the regular numbers. Then we're going to distribute the negative. So that'll give us 972.11, x minus 274 minus 0.1465x. So this will be 1 minus 0.1465, which is 0.8535, 0.8535x. And then I'm just going to go ahead and add the 274 right now. That way we don't have to add another step. So 972.11 plus 274 is 1246.11. Divide that by 0.8535, which gives us a weekly gross pay of $1,460. That's all right. So these can be done pretty quickly. Once you know what you're doing with them, set them up. It's the same process every single time. Dollar values combine, percentage values combine, distribute, solve. All right, let me grab you your assignment real quick. You will have time tomorrow to work on this in class. Along with the review, you will also be able to put together a page of notes for the test if you want to. That's gonna be on Friday. One here. All right. The few days that we haven't had a lot of work time.